Today we have a very special guest joining us today. He's the former Ancient Aliens TV host for Tucson, Arizona, as well as the leading UFO investigator in Phoenix, Arizona. He runs a Facebook Live show called Petroglyphsinthesky. I would call him the king of the petroglyphs and one of the best UFO hunters in the United States.
Jeff Woolwine, the first person to do this.
What you choose to believe about Jeff Woolwine and his petroglyph theories is entirely up to you. And whether he's a madman or a genius, I guess no one can say. What we can say is that ancient art is riddled with images of strange beings, wheels of fire, and flying shields in the sky.
Please give a nice insertion.
Thank you, welcome back to the Petroglyphsinthesky Ultimate UFO Show. Great, how you doing, guys? Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you so much. Great to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming back to the Petroglyphs in the Sky Ultimate UFO Show. I'm your host, Jeff Woolwine. And we got a lot of great stuff for you today. And we're going to talk about petroglyphs. We're going to explain petroglyphs. And we're going to show a sighting that took place in Florida. Now, the guy who filmed this said that he wasn't really sure what he was looking at, but, you know, he decided to film it and post it anyway. And it's a good thing that he did, because I picked up on it. I saw it. I noticed what it was. And we're going to go over that. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to show some video that happened this month in Mexico. You know, I love the Mexico sightings. We have the same UFO sighting entities here in Phoenix and in your neck of the woods as we do in Mexico. So that's going to be great. And it's a fleet of orbs, man. It's awesome. Love the fleets. And we're going to talk about how to spot fake CGI videos. Now, there's a lot of videos going around on YouTube, on Facebook, and they're going viral. But, you know, I'm sorry to say, not all of them are real. And so we're going to go into that also. Going to show some videos of me and my wife, Pam. We took a trip, took a journey, and looking for some petroglyphs. And it was quite a hike, and we found some, and it was really cool. Wasn't a lot there, but, you know, the story was really cool. So we're going to show a little bit about that. So a little bit about me. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I was born and raised in Phoenix. And I have been seeing these lights and these things in the sky ever since I was a kid. And I started, you know, watching them back in 2004. I studied the Phoenix lights in 2004. And I did a lot of news stories, a lot of shows in 2004. And then in 2005, I discovered that there were petroglyphs on the mountains around Phoenix, Arizona. And I was able to, with a little help from some shamans and from some Native Americans, I was able to figure out what these petroglyphs were, not only understand the rock art, but actually understand their meanings and what they were trying to say from watching the mountain, watching South Mountain for 3 years, and watching these entities come and go from the mountain. Now, notice how I'm not saying spaceships. Notice how I'm not saying craft. In 2005, I was the first one here in the United States to prove that not all UFOs are crafts, but living entities, living beings. I started this back in 2005. I wrote an article for UFO Magazine, and later on did the pilot for the UFO Hunter Show. And later on, when that show aired on the History Channel, I did the show in 2007. Now, this was all new to them, and they were telling me, Jeff, you're filming some bizarre stuff. The public isn't ready for this discovery yet, so we just got to give it time. So I've been waiting a long, long time, and now people are just now, you know, within the last 10 to 15 years, they're emailing me with their sightings. Oh, Jeff, so cool. I saw a flying snake. I saw a flying serpent in the sky. Oh, Jeff, I filmed this weird looking creature. It wasn't a craft. It was some kind of spirit being, man. And yes, and that's what we're dealing with. And this is what the Native Americans are trying to tell us. They've been telling us this for ever since the beginning of time, man. You know, that's what these carvings on the rocks are. They're actually stories, all right? They're prehistoric photographs, okay, of what took place in the spot where the glyphs are found. This is the reason why in some areas we find petroglyphs, and then the other areas we don't see any petroglyphs at all. And this is because nothing happened over there. What had happened, what took place, happened over here. And this is a prehistoric photograph, a prehistoric testimony of what happened in that area. It's not some Indian on peyote. It's not some graffiti. Okay? This is significant. They would not waste their time carving these things on the rocks if it didn't mean something. And you see, the Native Americans, the Hohokams, the Indians here in Phoenix, Arizona, they marked all these things before. They were here, they were the first ones to see these Phoenix lights and to record them in the sky over 1,000 years ago. And they told us, they're telling us what these things are. What these things are. And in no way, in studying the rock art on South Mountain for like 20 years now, I have not once came across anything to resemble a craft. Anything to resemble a little gray guy running around. Sure, I get it. You know, the scientists have found 7 Earth-like planets that could resemble, have possibly life on it. And what's to say that there's intelligent life on that made some kind of spaceship and has visited Earth in the past and maybe continue to do it today. Sure, I'm open to that. I have seen some things in the sky that could technically be called a craft. Okay, but I think what the majority of the public is seeing is something a little bit different. Is something a little bit different. When you see 5 lights out there in the sky, you're seeing 5 living entities. Each light is a being itself. It's not some spaceship, it's not some craft, it's a living entity. I was the first one to prove this, I was the first one to document this, I was the first one in this UFO community in the United States to talk about this. I brought this up with Jaime Maussan. I later on did True TV. So I've been through a lot of cable shows. You know, I got my information out, and now people are just now starting to see these beings in the sky. So it's great. My information is getting out there. So yeah, we have a lot of good stuff for you today, and so we don't have a lot of time. We have a lot of stuff to go over with, and so. You know, I call this show, my research, Petroglyphs in the Sky. Petroglyphs in the sky. It's because that is what we're seeing in the skies today. Not spaceships in the sky, not crafts with little gray guys running around in the sky, but petroglyphs. Petroglyphs in the sky. Because these petroglyphs that we're seeing on the mountains is what we're seeing in the skies today. Now, not all mountains are talking about these entities, are talking about these spirit beings. Not all mountains are. Only the sacred mountains. Only the mountains with spirals on them. Okay? Spirals are the key. If you find a mountain with a bunch of petroglyphs on it, and you see spirals, and you see weird things coming out of these spirals, such as maybe a flying snake, or maybe half man, half snake, or maybe, you know, some kind of a light, or just, you know, the archaeologist likes to call these things anthropomorphs. Anthropomorphs, because they're morphing in the sky. Okay, they're morphing, they're changing shape. This is what the Native Americans has been telling us all these years, people, is that these things change shape. They change shape, they change color, they change appearance. And I understand why they call them spirits. Because I have sat by that mountain, and have watched these things come out of the sky. And as they start to ascend within the mountain, they then start to kind of disappear, right? They're like a ghost, right? You can see through them. And this is when they become into their spirit form. And this is the reason why the natives call them spirits. Because they're solid, and then they change. They're a ghost, they're a spirit. You can see through them. And then all of a sudden, they dissolve themselves into the stone. And this is what the spirals represent. Are doorways into the underworld. So we have a spiral and it's going clockwise. Okay, it's a doorway in. Okay, when we have a spiral going counterclockwise, it's a doorway out. And it all depends on which way the spiral ends. Now, there's a lot of times when we see spirals on these rocks out here, and they'll end like on a crack of the stone. Okay, they'll stop at that crack. Now that crack is the doorway to the underworld. So it's either going to stop at that crack or it's going to stop ending down, which means that ground right there where that spiral is carved above is the place, is the portal, is the vortex, if you will, for these things to come up out of the ground. Now, if the spiral ends up, it might end up at a crack or some kind of crevice on the stone, or it might just go straight up. And that's when you know, the phoenix lights and all these other entities that we see in the sky just magically pop in the sky. They appear, they're there for a few seconds, for a few minutes, then they disappear, right? You've seen that. Those of you who know what I'm talking about, you've seen it. You understand what's going on here. And this is what the spirals are representing. They're representing doorways in the sky, a vortex in the sky. Now, you know, when I was being taught this by a shaman, I had a shaman take me up there on South Mountain. I was thinking to myself, and he was telling me about the doors, you know, the spirals. And I'm thinking to myself, how can a spaceship, right? How can a big spaceship technology, nuts and bolts craft, get into a small crack like that, right? Until I saw it, until I understood what was going on here. That it wasn't spaceships, it wasn't crafts necessarily that we were dealing with, but living beings, archaeologists, anthropomorphs, okay? Spirit beings, living entities. And I also learned that, you know what, they're not from outer space. These are not extraterrestrials. These are more like inner terrestrials, okay? This is their home too, all right? They're not from another galaxy, okay? This is their world too. They have always been here, but they've been in hiding, man. They've been in hiding. And they only come out when things really start to escalate, or when, because the Hopis say that we're in the fourth world, right? And we're getting ready to enter the fifth, right? And every time the world starts over with, these beings from the sky, from the earth and sky, are with mankind and teach mankind how to live, right? So every time there's like a major war going on, I mean, look at World War II, right? Because we had the Foo Fighters going on. We had these red lights, we had these Phoenix lights following these war crafts all over the place, right? Following these airplanes, you know, following the war all over the place, right? And it didn't take, about 50 years, I guess, until, you know, both sides finally found out that it wasn't their technology that was doing this. You know, that's when President Reagan came out and says, what if we were threatened from something from above, right? He says, let's join forces, right? Because he knew what was going on, right? He knew that there was another presence here on earth. He knew that one day, it's very possible that we would have to go back to war with these spirits of the earth and sky, just as it was in the time of the beginning, right? Because what does it say out here? The Hohokam, the first Native Americans here in Phoenix, Hohokam means the people who are gone, the people who are missing, the people who got taken away, right? Because we don't know what happened to them, right? Now, the archaeologist wants us to believe, well, they just simply migrated somewhere else. It got too hot. They lived here for 1,000 years. They were masters of the canal systems for 1,000 years, but then they just simply left with no trace of where they went? Come on now. When you and I move, we take our belongings with us, right? We're not going to leave our stuff behind. But the Hohokam sure did. They were here one day, gone the next, boom, gone, everything's gone. And you know what? This wasn't the only tribe that happened at the same time. you will find out in history that when this tribe disappeared, so did all the other tribes around the world at that time came up missing. Right? Something to think about. And I talk about this in my book. 15 years of research went into my book on the true history of Phoenix, Arizona. My book talks about the tombs that not only did I verify from what the first park ranger of Phoenix, Arizona says, but I verified the spirits of the earth and sky, much like what the first park ranger talks about. Now, the first park ranger, he knew. The Indians told him about the tombs on South Mountain, told him about the spirits of the earth and sky, told him about the Phoenix lights, man. He knew. He told people. Matter of fact, he made little flyers. He made little flyers and he handed it out to people, telling people the real history of Phoenix, Arizona. Until one day, whenever he passed away, this was back in the early 30s. From the early 30s to the late 1940s. And then he passed away, and all his information was tucked away and buried in the Phoenix Library Government Department for the last 80 years. Out of sight, out of mind, nobody knows about this. Park Ranger doesn't talk, or the archaeologists of the state of Phoenix don't talk about this. I was on the news with the city of Phoenix archaeologists, okay? I don't think anybody else in history has ever got a city archaeologist to come out and talk about UFOs connected to petroglyphs, right? But somehow I was able to do it, And of course, you know what we're dealing with here. He's not going to admit that. The only thing that I really agreed with him with was like two things. One, it was interesting that he said this. He says, this is more interterrestrial than extraterrestrial, right? So he's got that kind of right? And then I agree with him on the solstice and the equinox and the shadows and the changing of the seasons and the light and shadow carvings that are on South Mountain. So yeah, there was only those two things that I agreed with him about. But I've read his books. It doesn't talk about anything about the Mayans. The Mayans were here along with the Hohokam. Not only the Mayans, but many tribes from around the United States, from around other existing lands, Mexico, California, Nevada, it doesn't matter where they all gathered to Phoenix, Arizona, to this mountain now known as South Mountain, or formerly known in the Indians' days as Mount Sepoa, Mountain of Mercy. That was the original name of South Mountain. Why did they call South Mountain Mount Sepoa? Because there's altars. There's altars on South Mountain. There was sacrifice going on South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. You don't hear about this from the archaeologists, but yet it's there. When you go out there and investigate it, like I did, 20 years of research on that mountain, bro. I've been there. I've documented. I photographed the altars. I found the tombs. I found the true history of Phoenix, Arizona that hasn't been talked about in 80 years. And this is all being verified. You see, I go with things that history can verify. Okay? History can verify. History as far as, I proved, the first park ranger talked about the tombs, talked about the Phoenix lights, talked about the sacrifice, talked about the gold that's buried on South Mountain, left from the Mayans, and the Mayans are going to come back and reclaim this gold from the tombs up there on South Mountain, right? I verified it. I saw it. I didn't dig in the tombs, but I did find the tombs. I found 4 tombs on South Mountain, and I'm sure there's plenty more, right? But I found 4 of them. I verified it. So we can back this up. We can back up Charles Holbrook, the first park ranger, talking about this. We can back up the altars that are there. We can see it. We can photograph it. We can go out there and see. We can back up the tombs that are on South Mountain. We can back up what the spirals and the anthropomorphs are talking about by watching the skies, not only above South Mountain, but all over, the world, that these things, what was recorded, over 1,000 years ago from the first Native Americans, from the first people who saw and dealt with these things. Okay, so that we can verify. I was the first one to match these petroglyphs on the mountains of the Valley of the Sun to the Phoenix Lights, to these things that we see in the skies today. No one has ever done that. It was just a theory. It was just a theory. Oh, we think the Native Americans were seeing things in the sky, but no one has actually verified it until I did back in 2005. From 2005 to 2007, and continue and still doing it, I matched these things in the sky to the rock art. This is the reason why I call my presentation, my book, my research, Petroglyphs in the Sky, is because that's what we're seeing. Now, even Sumerian, I've done a lot of interviews over the years, and my good friend Kevin Smith, he passed away a number of years ago, and he was a radio host, and I used to do a lot of shows with him. He passed away, but he asked me one day, do you think this is possible with the Sumerian writings? And of course it does. Of course it matches with the Sumerian writings. Of course it matches with, the Anunnaki, right? And I've studied the Anunnaki, I've read the Anunnaki, and, in no way, what do they say Anunnaki means? Those who came out of the heavens to earth, right? Does it say those on a spaceship from earth? Does it say those from a boat in the sky from earth? Does it say those in a craft came to earth? No, it doesn't. And nowhere, no way, ever on these biblical texts and on these Sumerian texts do we find anything that describes a craft. It doesn't talk about a craft at all. It says some stayed and some left. Right? Some left. And some of these cable shows, they're just showing, oh, they must have left in a spaceship, right? So they interpret a spaceship going to what? Planet X, Naboo, right? But it doesn't say that. It doesn't describe a spaceship. It doesn't describe a craft. It just says some stayed and some left. But because mankind is so understanding of technology, we assume. What does assume mean? Making an ass out of you and me. We assume that they took a spaceship to Planet X, right? The Planet X that every, 3,500 years or so, I could be wrong on that, but that planet's supposed to come back around, right? Everybody's waiting for it to come around, No way does it talk about a craft. The petroglyphs do not talk about a spaceship. The petroglyphs do not talk about these Phoenix Lights being a craft at all. It's not a craft. What we're dealing with are living entities. Just as I said at the beginning, sure, I'm open. I have seen some things, okay, that could resemble a craft. But I think what the majority of the people are seeing are living entities. Okay, so I've gone way over my time, and let's talk about some of these petroglyphs. These petroglyphs here, I found just, scrolling through the internet, and I thought they were cool. So let's go ahead and start talking about this, because we got to get this show on the road. So here we go. So this one's pretty cool, okay? It's a barbell, right? It's a barbell. And many barbells are carved on South Mountain. I'm not sure where this is carved at. But many barbells on South Mountain were carved. And I have filmed many barbells in the sky. Now, what really makes this significant is look at the stone that it's carved on. You see that? It's lava. It's a lava stone. And this is the reason why these beings, these entities, like mountains so much. You know, some mountains, not all of them, but the mountains with fault lines. One of the secrets is these things are absorbing the energies around planet Earth. Okay? Whether it's man-made, such as a nuclear facility, or a power plant that's bored down into a fault line, or a volcano. But fault lines seem to be the major attraction for these entities. Okay, so this being, this entity, was carved on a lava rock. So close by must have been a volcano somewhere. So I'm sure, you know, we've seen these entities come and go from Mexico's volcanoes, you know, in other parts of the world. You know, we see these orbs, we see these lights going into volcanoes. Man, dude, they're absorbing the energy. They're absorbing the energy. Okay? So this petroglyph is very significant on its meaning, and it's secret. It's secret's telling us, you know, it's absorbing the energy. Now this one's cool here. So just now lately, within the last, well, give or take 10 years, I guess, people have been seeing these rods in the sky, right? Now, if you're real good, if you're quick, you might see a rod fly by you on the corner of your eye. I've seen them. I've seen it from my real self, my real own eyes on South Mountain. But this rod was so huge, it was like 2 blocks long, all right? And it slithered through the sky and it disappeared into a stone, into a doorway. It was so quick I wasn't able to film it. But I have seen these rods. And I talked to a lot of Native Americans about these rods. Now, as far as I could get on what these things are, this is like another creature, another living being, okay? Another life form, all right? And somehow the Native Americans were able to harness these things, harness these guys, catch them, and use them for healing. How they did that, I don't know. That's about as far as I got with it without getting into some personal stuff with them that they didn't really want to talk about. But they verified that these rods are real, and clearly we can see now there's rods carved on South Mountain. I talk about it in my book, you know, so clearly something was seen, right? They're using these rods to heal with. This one's really cool. Now look at this, right? Look at that glyph, right? See that crack there? See that crack? That's the doorway. That's the doorway. This entity, this thing, this half of a diamond is coming out of this crack. It's coming out of the doorway. Yep. That's exactly what this petroglyph is representing. Now, you know what? To understand the petroglyphs, I've gone over this in other shows before. You really have to look at the whole landscape, because the artist is putting in with his art the whole landscape. Okay? So if you see like a serpent and it's like these pyramid, like a zigzag, right? It's a zigzag snake. And you step back and you look at the 2 pyramid hills in the background, it's telling us that that serpent with the 2 pyramids are the pyramids that's behind the stone. So that's one way to interpret the rock art, to understand the rock art, is you have to look at the whole landscape, because the artist is telling you this is what is significant. It's a holy land, it's a sacred land. You know, going back to not all mountains are sacred. You know, some mountains with petroglyphs on them, some of them talk about ceremonies. Okay, you'll see kachinas, right? But you won't see any spirals, all right? Some mountains will show hunting, right? They'll show hunting and gathering, but you won't see any spirals. So not all petroglyphs are talking about these spirit beings, right? Some is just everyday normal life, like catching fish, watching a deer eat some grass, kachinas, ceremonies, stuff like that, But what you really want to look out for are the spirals. You find a mountain with spirals and these anthropomorphs hanging around, these weird looking entity things, these weird looking things carved on the rocks, that's what you want to look for. This petroglyph was kind of cool. I dug it out. Not sure where this was originally taken at, but it really reminded me of a Egyptian god, one of those Egyptians where it's like this bird, right? It's this bird and he's got this beak, right? Look at that beak there. Okay, I didn't have time to find the statue, but I'm sure those of you who follow my work and those of you who understand what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about here, man. It's like some kind of bird, right? And it's big. Is it a pterodactyl? I don't know, man. Could be. But what is he doing? He's eating a man. He's taking a man up, right? See that? Isn't that kind of scary? But that's what that petroglyph is talking about. See that? And see the crack there. Okay? So those dots right there, those dots could represent blood. It's very hard to tell. Very hard to interpret without seeing, the whole stone, the whole story. I just thought that was interesting. Okay, so it looks like I'm done with the petroglyphs there. And so now we're going to talk about, my wife and I, we went on this kind of hike, this kind of adventure. And, oh my God, dude, when we find these trails where these petroglyphs are supposed to be at, they need to tell you, dude, exactly how far it is, man. Because we walked and we walked and we walked. And we bumped into this one guy. Thank God that we did. Because first we walked around in circles and we didn't get anywhere. Ran into some people and they said, oh yeah, there's a sign over there because we're looking for the petroglyphs. He says, yeah, there's a sign over there, saying, no vandalism, the petroglyphs, clean up after yourself. Okay, where is it? They pointed it over there. So we headed over there after about an hour and a half walking in the wrong direction. We finally get the right direction, but we still don't know where to go. And finally, this one guy comes around and we asked him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know where it's at. I know where it's at. I'll take you there." We're like, "Cool, okay." And it's a good thing he did. It's a good thing he did because he went off, the trail and places that I wouldn't have gone to, and he showed us where the petroglyphs were. So let's take a look at this. Now this was interesting here. Here we go. These are the petroglyphs that we found. Isn't that neat? Look at the right side there. That is a spirit being, okay? And you see that this is on the other side. This is on the other side here. Okay, so maybe we'll get back to it. Yeah, there's like a little spiral right there on this rock. I don't know if you can see it or not. The video will replay and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. And this guy right here, you see that? That guy right there is kind of going into that crack. See that? So there's a very faint spiral there. It's very hard to pick out. Okay, so this right here is the beginning of our adventure, I believe. Yeah, here we go. We'll get back to the petroglyphs here in a minute. But this is really cool. This is when we were going in the wrong direction. We're going in the wrong direction to find the glyphs. And we found this wall, or this dam, right? I thought it was kind of cool. And so we just took an adventure through that. Thought that was really neat. Not sure who made it. I don't think that, it was, I don't think it was the Indians. It might have been the CCC, the Conservation Corps, back in the 40s, or late 30s, back in the Depression, you know, and because I believe there was like concrete there, so that wouldn't be Indians at all. And then later on, they built this dam here, and then later on, somebody, someone made a hole to get through it. Not sure what that was, but that was pretty cool. I think it was like some kind of a big tub. So yeah, going through this opening, thought that was really cool. And as you can tell, there's sand all over the place. So this one time, and I'm sure probably every time that a heavy rainfall, every time that it rains, I'm sure that it'll get some water through here. I thought that was pretty cool. And this is in the wrong direction of where we're going. We're supposed to go the opposite direction for the petroglyphs. But we didn't know about this at that time. But it was a cool adventure. It was a cool walk, Got to see the landscape. As I'm sharing this video with you guys, it was really cool that day. It was a real nice day that day, and just being out there in nature and walking around exploring, is like the best, and I highly recommend it. Get out there, explore, see what you can find. If you guys find any petroglyphs, that you want me to talk about, send them to me. I'd love to look at them. I'd love to, give you my impression on them. We'll talk about it on the air. If you filmed any UFOs, send them to me. I'd love to see it. Send me your letters, and we'll go into a couple letters here in a minute. So yeah, share your stories with me, so that'd be great. Well, we got a little bit of time here. Lynn Kitai of the 1997 Phoenix Lights has invited me to be a guest at her show, March 15th, I believe it is. And I'll be posting something about it later on my wall. But yeah, she does this film every year for the 1997 Phoenix Lights at the Harkins Theater. And so yeah, I'll be there. Come on down. I'd love to talk with you. Come on down, meet me. I'd love to meet you. And we'll talk about UFOs. We'll talk about petroglyphs. Talk about Phoenix Lights. Anything you want to talk about. It'd be great. I would love to see you guys there. So come on down. And it's at the Harkins in Scottsdale, Arizona. And yeah, so I'll be making an appearance there. So it should be good. I'll be passing out flyers, so come on down and let's talk. I would love to meet you guys. Love to see you. So make sure you come on down. And by the way, while you're here, why don't you share this video? Share the video. Like the video. Follow me on Facebook. And that'd be great. Let me know about your stories. Tell me your adventures on what you've seen in the sky. So okay, here we go on the petroglyphs. Now, there was some things that I noticed on these rocks that not only were there rock carvings, petroglyphs, rock carvings, but pictographs. Now look at this. There's paint. You see this right here? That is paint. So one time there were pictographs, paintings from the Indians there. See that? That's Indian paintings right there. I thought that was really significant. It's too bad that it's gone. It's washed away. How long, how many hundreds, maybe thousands of years it was there. But yeah, that was evidence that there was some painting there and some petroglyphs, rock carvings, petroglyphs, as you can see there. So we finally get to this rock, this petroglyph. It took us about almost an hour, I think, to get there. And I was just at awe to see these rock art. And yeah, so let's talk about it. So up top of this crack here, we see these entities. We see these circles, right? These circles with dots in the middle, these orbs, okay? And see that crack there? Now look at the spiral. See how the spiral is ending down? That spiral is talking about this crack. So we have this man here, this entity, okay, this spirit is below this man. So this being is picking this man up and taking him into the doorway. Here on this guy right here, this was really cool. Now this is another spirit being. Now this spirit is coming out of the stone. He's come. See that crack right there? That's where he's emerging out of. He's coming out of the stone. And to the left of him, our left, his right, you'll see an orb right there. So an orb is coming out of this stone also. And if we zoom back in on the petroglyph there, okay, so this is the other side. Nope. Nope, that's okay. So we're back to the spiral. So I thought that was pretty cool. This was a really neat petroglyph panel. There wasn't a lot there, but from what was there, I mean, it told a really, really cool story. So, and I took photographs of it, and we're going to talk about it. So here's the spiral that was on the other side. Okay, so this was on the other side of the stone. Unfortunately, I guess I didn't film it. But as you can see, the spiral is ending down, right? And what direction is it going? It's going clockwise, right? And it's ending down. So the doorway is telling us that the doorway is this crack right here. Is that opening? That is the doorway. This is how you can understand the petroglyphs and the spirals and the doorways. Okay? So it's a doorway in. It's a doorway in. And that was carved on the, I believe it was like the east side of that boulder. And then here we have another photograph of these entities. Okay, so it's like a circle with a dot, right? And we've seen these things in the sky. We've seen these things. You see those orbs with the dots in the middle? You know, sometimes the Phoenix lights, when you film them, when you watch them, they have this dot in the middle, right? And that's exactly what this petroglyph is depicting. It's telling us that this is an orb, this circle with the dot right there, that is what we're seeing in the skies today. And it looks like he's going into the doorway. Or he's coming out of the doorway, because I believe that spiral up there on top is a doorway in. So somewhere along that area, I didn't have a lot of time to explore because it was getting late and we were tired. It took us, a couple hours of walking around trying to find these glyphs, but somewhere around that mountain must be a doorway out, because these are doorways in. Okay, so look at this here. See that spiral there? And see that guy there, okay? And see that entity, that orb. Now I believe that it's like pulsating, right? Sometimes when you see these lights in the sky, sometimes when you see these Phoenix lights in the sky, these lights, they're pulsating, right? They're changing like colors, like orange amber to white, it's like plasma, right? And I believe that's what this glyph is trying to describe right here, is it's like pulsating. And it just so happens that it's taking this man up with him. It's taking this man, in the sky. It looks like he's headed for this doorway crack right there. That's what it really looks like to me. It looks like this guy is going into the doorway there with that spiral right above him. Pretty cool. Now we have this entity. This entity was like really, really neat. This guy was cool. Ain't he cool? And look at the orb to our left, his right. You see that orb there? That's what we're seeing in the skies today, ladies and gentlemen. Not crafts necessarily, but living beings, living entities. And what is he doing? it looks like he's coming out of the doorway crack on the bottom. See that? Isn't that neat? That was really cool. So it was worth, walking all over the place trying to find this thing. Okay, so we are going to take a small break, and and then afterwards we're going to talk about. Well, I'm going to show you the UFO in Florida. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to show some orbs that happened in Mexico, and we're also going to take a look. We're going to take a look at how to understand computer-generated images. We'll be right back.
New at 5, a look back at a mysterious event in the valley. On this day in 1997, strange lights were seen in the sky from Prescott to Tucson, giving UFO believers a lot to talk about.
And for the last 12 years, they have been doing a lot of talking about those Phoenix lights. Brandon Klein's in the Information Center with more. Brandon?
Faye and Lynn Sue, those Phoenix lights were explained the next day. We were told that they were actually flares, but that does not satisfy the believers. A handful of people here in the valley believe this was a visit from far beyond, and they don't think this is the last.
It's pretty incredible once you witness it.
To call Jeff Woolwine a believer would be an understatement. He has dedicated his life to researching UFOs.
Without that film, I believe that we wouldn't be discussing this topic today. Video cameras are the weapons for UFO activity.
The Phoenix lights of 1997 had a big impact on him. Since then, he never misses an opportunity to try to convince people what's out there.
Clearly, there wasn't any airplanes dropping these lights out. They simply just seem to pop in the sky and then pop out.
Woolwine points to petroglyphs at South Mountain. He believes indigenous tribes also witnessed lights in the sky and drew what they saw.
They're prehistoric pictures of something historical that had happened hundreds of years ago.
But there are doubters, lots of them. Hikers and bikers at South Mountain say UFO theories are a little out there, so to speak.
Military aircraft. Could have been flares.
But Woolwine says he'll keep watching the sky, searching for answers. Brandon Klein, 12 News.
You are watching the Petroglyphs in the Sky Ultimate UFO Show with your host, Jeff Woolwine. UFO sightings that match Native American rock art from long ago. Only on the Petroglyphs in the Sky Ultimate UFO Show. Tell your friends.
All right, thanks for sticking around. And, if you like what you see so far, make sure you find me on Facebook. Make sure you click that like button. Share this video. And spread the word, man. Spread the word that, that there's something here, and you're not crazy. Have you seen these things in the sky? Have you recorded these things? Send me your videos. Let me analyze them. I've been taught by the best on how to analyze videos, and we'll go over that just a minute. And so I've seen these things firsthand. I've seen these things on a regular basis. All right, I continue to see these entities. I know what they look like. I can spot one a mile away. I know what's fake and I know what's real just because I have witnessed so many hundreds of these things in the skies over the years since 2004. So I know what I'm talking about. I've been on many cable shows, many news reports, and I continue to get the word out, I don't make any money from this. And a lot of people, they try to make money off this. They try to make a profit. I don't make any money off this. This is all my time. I do tours on South Mountain. It's free. I wrote a book. I don't even get the money out from the book. I told the publishers to give the money to the foster kids here in Phoenix. So I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the fame. What I am into this is look what I did. Look what I did for 15 years and continue to do. Look at the success that I have accomplished. Now, I want you to go out there and do this also. Don't take my word for it. Don't take some other guy's word for it where he wants to sell you a book about little green guys from Alpha Centauri, that can't verify anything. Go out there and investigate the history. Investigate the petroglyphs. Investigate the Phoenix Lights and find out what really happened that night. What exactly happened that night, and what the Holcombs and what the city of Phoenix history really talks about. Okay, examine the rock art. Go on these trails. Look at the petroglyphs. Look at the altars out there. I've documented this for you. Everything is in the book. Read the story. This first book talks about the lost history of Phoenix, Arizona. And so yeah, do this on your own and don't give up. Don't give up. Get yourself a video camera, not a cell phone. Cell phone videos for UFOs just doesn't work. You want a good video camera with a good zoom. HD, is preferred. And use those video cameras and don't give up. These things follow a pattern. This is a pattern. I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to tell you a secret right now, live on the air. This is how to see these entities in the sky. They follow the seasons, right? They follow the seasons. They follow the equinox and the solstice. They track the sun. They track where the sun will align with these fault lines or these major energy sources around the globe. Okay, so the first time I noticed this, I was watching South Mountain. The first year I noticed that these things were here this month, that month, this month. They were gone this month, this month. They came back this month, this month, this month. It was during the equinox and the solstice times. And then when it repeated itself the following year and the year and continues and continues and continues. This is how to track them. This is how to track them. So just because you don't see anything that first time you go out there, okay, don't give up. Follow the sun. Follow the equinox. Look in your area where a major fault line or energy source is. Now, I'm not saying some just little electrical power plant. No, I'm talking like if it's going to be man-made, it's going to be a fault line that's bored down into a fault line, a power plant that's bored down into a fault line, or a volcano, or a major fault line. Okay, no wonder California is seeing them a lot. No wonder Mexico is seeing them a lot, right? And Washington, okay, and Oregon. There's major fault lines, man, right there. That's why they love the West Side, is because they're following the fault lines. So just because you don't see one now, don't give up. Keep filming, and when you do, send it to me. I'd love to see what you found. Okay, so let's talk about this entity that was filmed in Florida. Okay, so this was filmed from Greg Ansel. Excuse me if I pronounced your name wrong. But he's from Florida, okay? And he wrote me. He says, I was driving in a neighborhood, hopped out of the car just for a second. When I looked up and I saw an object in the sky just floating there. It was easily the size of a small car. I grabbed my phone and started filming. It began to move away from where I first saw it, and then I never saw, I couldn't tell from the ground, exactly where it went, and it just moved past those trees, and I never saw on where it landed at. So, later on, he's starting to think that it could be a balloon, it could be a bag, okay, but I looked at this thing, and I'm going to show it to you right here. I looked at this thing, and I could tell right away that this was not a balloon, and this was not a bag, and this was not anything man-made, okay? And I'm going to tell you some of the reasons why I came to this conclusions, because look at this thing. Look how it's changing shape, right? Look how it's coming down to Earth, okay? And it's changing shape. So if this was a balloon, or if this was a bag, it wouldn't be in control. Okay, this is the normal view. This is how the original video looked like. I enhanced it, I brought the video up, I zoomed in, so you guys can take a closer look at this. You can see on how it's just ascending to Earth. Look how it's shape-shifting. See that? Look how it seems to be in control. And this is how these things are getting away with being in our skies today. It's because when people see them, they automatically think that they're a balloon. They automatically think that it's, you know, something man-made, that it's a bag or a piece of paper or something like that. Okay? This is how they're getting away with being in our skies. Because people are looking for crafts. People are looking for technology. People are looking for spaceships. People are looking for little green guys, okay? It's time to put that on the shelf. Put the spaceships on the shelf. Put the green guys on the shelf. And let's look at what's really here, okay? And what's really here is living entities that shape-shift, all right? Now, here's another giveaway on how it's not a bag or a balloon. Look at the trees. Look at the bush. Examine the bushes now. There's wind. See that? There is wind. Okay? So if this was a balloon or a bag, it would clearly catch the wind and it would blow away. But no, that is completely opposite. This thing is on a mission. It is going straight down. I bet you there's a fault line there. I bet you there's some kind of energy source there. And I asked the guy, you know, did you go out there and investigate? You know, and you know, of course not. You know, he didn't go check it out. You know, but it's sad. You know, hopefully he will look at, you know, he would examine this again and have a second thought of this and actually go out there and investigate to the same spot and see, you know, what's out there. Wouldn't that be cool if there's petroglyphs and spirals? Okay, so look at the trees, or look at the bush. See how there's wind, but yet this thing is going straight down. This is not a balloon. This is not a bag. Okay. This is something different. This is not man-made. This is what we need to be looking for. Are things like this. It even looks like it's got two eyes. See that? Now, I filmed something that looks like it's got two eyes, you know, coming off South Mountain. And we'll talk about that at another show. But isn't that something? Isn't that neat? And look how it's on a mission. It's going straight down. I thought that was really cool. And thank you, Greg, for, you know, letting me see this. And you know, and posting it and filming it, man. You did a great job filming it, you know. And if you continue to see these things, you know, if you can, try to use a video camera. You know, try to upload it, you know, to Facebook or to YouTube on a video camera that way, because you just get, you know, better zoom in. You can zoom in a lot better, you know. And even though you use a cell phone on this, it's very good quality. You know, it's very good video. It's just it lacks the zoomification. So you wanna zoom in and get a real good look at this thing, you know. So that's great, dude. That's great that you filmed it. It's great that you posted it, And I just happened to see it on one of the Facebook UFO pages, and so many people were commenting, "Oh, that must be a balloon. Oh, it must be a bag." But in my years of research and studying these things, I knew right away that this was not a bag, this was not a balloon. This is what we want to look for. Great job, Greg, and keep it up, man. If you see anything else, please let me know. And if you go out to that spot and verify where this thing went down, maybe you'll get lucky and you'll find something there too significant, to verify what you saw. Okay, so let's take a look at Mexico. Oh, I love Mexico sightings. I love Mexico sightings, man. It is just crazy. Now, this is a huge fleet. This happened not too long ago, this month, I believe. And look at this, okay? You can tell that this is not balloons. These things are not balloons. They're in control. You see that? I have filmed these things over my head many times. I have seen these fleets many times above my head. I know what they're doing there. I can understand, I see they're like changing shape, or they're following the same formation. So if these was a bunch of balloons, okay, they would clearly be blown away by now. But yet these things are in control. Some are moving, some are staying in formation. I love Mexico stuff. It's because this is what we're really seeing in the skies today. And yeah, I love the flying serpents. We have Quetzalcoatl flying around here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we've seen Quetzalcoatl flying around in Mexico. And I've seen it. I've seen Quetzalcoatl, the flying serpent, many times in my sky watching days. So yeah, I really enjoyed this, and so I thought I'd share it with you. I'm not sure who filmed it, but it was somebody in Mexico, and it was just awesome. I love it because I've seen these things for myself just magically appear in the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 30. Oh my God, there's 50 of them in the sky. I've seen that. I've witnessed that. I filmed that. I've seen it. It's crazy. So yeah, this is what we want to look for. So let's not blow off something that might resemble a balloon, but is not acting like a balloon. Don't blow it off, dude. Examine it. Okay? Make sure that it's not a balloon. Make sure, you really understand what you're looking at. Because this is how they're getting away with being in our skies today. Because they don't make any noise. They don't cast any shadows. So you won't know that they're there unless you look up and notice them. Okay? So keep your eyes in the skies. Keep your cameras ready. I take a camera with me everywhere I go. I'm always ready. I know something is going to happen. I want to be there to film it. Okay, so we are going to talk about how to spot CGI videos. And before we go into that, I want you to take a look at something. I've met Jim Delatoso, Village Labs in Phoenix, Arizona. Matter of fact, in 2004, 5, 6, and 7, when I was doing a lot of news reports, a lot of cable shows, they wanted to see my original, before my videos aired on the news, they wanted to see my original video to make sure I wasn't, faking the videos. They wanted to analyze my videos before they aired it on TV. Because there's so many people out there faking this stuff, and so many people are just taking this stuff for granted. They just think, oh, it's real, But in fact, what's really going on is someone is faking a UFO and putting it on YouTube because he is making a living off of your hit. Every time you click on that button to watch a UFO video, you're paying that guy. So he's manipulating everything so he can get paid. He's lying to you and me All right, so he can get paid off YouTube once you click that video, once you punch that video and view that video, you're paying that guy. So you're paying him to fool you, all right? And that's got to stop. This has got to stop. We need to really look on what's going on here, okay? We need to analyze. We need to learn how to look for fakes, okay? And don't take everything so serious, man. It could be real. It could not be real. You have to look at what's credible and what's not credible. You have to be a believer and a skeptic all at the same time. Okay? So I've talked with Jim Delatoso. He's looked at my stuff many, many times, and he was very impressed with my stuff. And so they know, the media and the cable shows and the History Channel, everybody in this field, they know who I am, and they know that I am legit. I have been filming some legit stuff. I don't fake nothing, okay? So those of you who have been following me for the past 2 years knew that when I lived in a certain spot in Phoenix, oh my God, I was at a hot spot, okay? I was seeing these things left and right, okay? But I have moved. I have moved since then, and now I don't see them as much, okay? I'm not gonna run out and fake a UFO just to get on the popularity hit list, just to put it on YouTube to get paid, okay, just to keep my rankings up there, okay? No, I don't do that. I'm not a faker. I am one of the most legitimate UFO researchers out there today. I am not hoaxing anything. I actually point out the hoaxers. I know it's real. I know it's fake. And I'm not going to go out there and rush to judgment. You know, even if I see something in the sky, you know, and I quite really don't know what it is. It could be a balloon, it could be a UFO, it could be a frisbee, I don't know. I'm not going to post it until I know for sure, all right? Until I know for sure that this is, you know, not an airplane. Anything that blinks consistently, okay, this is what you want to look out for. Anything that blinks in a pattern, okay, is man-made. Is an airplane, is a drone, is a helicopter. Anything in the sky must have an anti-collision light, and it will blink in a pattern. So that's one way you can find out if something is fake or not. If someone is filming an airplane but wants you to think that it's a UFO because the lights are blinking, but it's in a pattern. It's in a pattern. Okay. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Jim Delatoso. And this interview on the news happened in 2005, and this was when Pat Uskert came to me and a bunch of other people in Phoenix for an idea called the UFO Hunter Show, and this was a pilot. And so the UFO Hunter Show wasn't out quite yet, and this one guy, he wanted to get in there, and so what he did is he faked a UFO video. So he could be in with this group that Pat, myself, and some other people in Phoenix, you know, were doing. We're making the pilot for the UFO Hunter Show. So Pat not only came to Phoenix, but he went all over the place, you know, putting together other people's UFO videos for the UFO Hunter Show. This is before the UFO Hunter Show was ever aired. You know, the UFO Hunter Show didn't air until 2007. But I was in the pilot, and this guy wanted to be in the pilot too, and he faked a video. So let's take a look at this. And I really want you to watch. I want you to learn. I want you to learn from this, okay? Jim is going to teach you how to understand CGI videos, what to look for. And then we're going to talk about some more stuff on also what he didn't cover. I will cover later on after this. Okay, so here we go.
No sighting, but tonight, less than 2 weeks after that video first appeared, we are prepared to say it's a hoax. All right, we don't have have that story for you. Hopefully we'll get that up for you in a little bit. Beverly, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, hopefully we will get that because interesting stuff. We get this kind of video in all the time. Sometimes it's unexplainable and other times it's a hoax. This one was a hoax. But we're going to come back in just a few seconds with meteorologist Kim Dillon. She is in the house for Royal tonight, telling us what our weekend forecast is looking like. And I've seen in the West Valley a couple of weeks ago. Tell us about that.
Yeah, just a little less than 2 weeks ago. A lot of controversy. Some people believe it, some people don't. Some people were saying it's a hoax, and the guy that brought us this videotape saying, no, it's not. A lot of other people saw it. Well, tonight we are prepared to say it is a hoax. Here's the tape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 lights in the sky. Moments later, an 8th appears and locks into position.
This was northwest towards the White Pink Mountains. Seen a light come on, and I turned on my video camera, started taping.
Brian Besson boldly brought us his camera and the tape.
I've heard lots of UFO stories. I guess I've got one now for myself.
Besson's added a time and date stamp and put the video on his own website, UFO Theater, where it immediately became a worldwide web sensation. As you might imagine, UFO Theater offers DVDs for sale, purportedly showing authentic sightings caught on tape. This, for example, one of Besson's videos, later said to be simply a flock of birds. And Besson himself is an amateur filmmaker, visiting Arizona from Texas to help with an all-new UFO DVD. Sound suspicious?
You know, this is mine, and this has nothing to do with anything like that.
Swearing it's the real deal, Besson agreed to bring his original videotape to Jim Dilatoso, an analyst with more than 20 years' experience dissecting strange videos and photographs.
There's the data side, where, without opinion, we objectively extract data and compare that to our existing science database and draw conclusions.
Any videotape is full of data. Some you can see and some you can't. While waiting for Besson to show up, Dilatoso examined the video copy we had.
First of all, if it's in autofocus, why is there no continual adjustment that's going on even when the camera is moving?
Then there's the noise, as in grainy video in most, but not all of the picture.
That's all through the whole picture, and it's everywhere in the entire picture except one place, right there.
Then the date stamp Besson admits adding to the picture. Curious, the color and shadowing are remarkably similar to several of the mystery lights.
Objects 1, 2, and 3, we have noise in the same position as we do on the letters down here that have been generated.
Geez, look at you can see the grain inconsistency already.
Dilatoso brought in his own expert for a second opinion, an opinion backed up by other investigators in California, Mexico, and even Brazil. An opinion that solidifies when Besson fails to show up for this detailed analysis.
Is a indicator to me that they have reservations about submitting their evidence to this kind of testing because they may get caught.
Brian Besson sent us an email reading in part, quote, I think I have spent too much time on the UFO thing and get behind on my real-life work, so I need to address some important issues before I have time to blow on UFOs. All right, so what now? Well, you can go to our website. There it is. We have a ton of information there that we don't have time for tonight. You can watch this story again, and please give us your thoughts. And we want to give a shout out to Brian there and let him know that we are still waiting for that original video that he shot.
Yeah, but thank goodness we have folks like our UFO expert, Jim Dilatoso, because he is intense and he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He really does.
Serious science.
Thanks, Heather. We appreciate it.
I guess he thought that if he looked like me, putting his hair back, his hat back, he might also try to get away with some of his hoax videos and try to get on TV, much as I was doing back then. And so yeah, did you take a look at what Jim was teaching you? Was teaching us how to spot fake UFO videos. Okay, so we're going to look at the grain. You want to look at the grain. If something doesn't make sense. For instance, if someone is filming something, all right, if you see a video of an object in the sky but the person isn't zooming in, right? Or the camera is just, you know, going all over the place except for the object, right? It's not real. It's not credible, okay? Chances are it's put in. Someone went out there, filmed the sky, later on put something in with a computer, okay? And that's not gonna cut it. That's what this guy did, okay? He went out there, he filmed something, you know, he filmed the night sky, and then he added in what was there. And a lot of people too, you know, what a lot of people do, you know, magicians, you know how they get away with some of this stuff, especially when they have somebody, when they pull somebody from the audience, okay? And then, you know, they do the trick on the person in the audience. Well, the secret is the guy from the audience is in on with the trick. He knows the magic. He knows what's going on. So the guy in the audience and the magician is fooling, you know, the audience. They're both in on it. Though they think they try to make the audience think, you know, that they're not into it, that they don't know each other, that this is all magic. But actually, they coerced this, you know, they reenacted this magic trick beforehand. They practiced it. So a lot of videos, my point is, a lot of videos, you'll see a bunch of people looking up into the sky, right? All right, so the camera guy will go up there and put his video camera in the sky, and then you'll see a spaceship or something up there, right? Well, chances are he probably paid all those people, you know, or he said, hey, you guys want to be in a cool UFO video? Just look at the sky and act like you're seeing something. Let me film you, okay? Boom, oh, look at that thing in the sky. So they come over there and they film nothing, but later on put in a fake UFO ship, right? So, you know, you really got to have to watch yourself because these people are in it for the money. They're making fools out of you and me, okay? They want you to click on that video, you know, so they can get paid. They're living off your foolishness. Point blank. They are fooling you so you can pay them, okay? So let's take a look at something. Let's take a look at an example. Here I found this video, okay? This is a still shot. All right? This is a still shot of a video. So I analyzed this. And what and behold, what did I see? I see this. You see how the grain does not match? You see that? See how the grain does not match? Examine these photographs. Here's what it looks like, you know, normal. And then here's what it looks like zoomed in and with a filter. Okay? So this is telling me and everybody else who understands this is that these objects were put in later. Now, here's something that I filmed. Whoops, I keep moving the screens. Here's something that I filmed, okay? Pretty much looks like the same thing, doesn't it? See that? So now let's take a look at what it looks like with the filter on it. Whoops. One of these days we'll get it right. There we go. You see how it's smooth? You see how that's smooth? Okay? You see how the grain, you see how the grain matches? You see that? You don't see any lines, you don't see anything, you know, to suggest that it's been faked. It's smooth. It's smooth. So on the right, we have what the video normally looks like. That's a still photo. And then on the left, we can see on how the grain, the noise in the photograph matches what the objects look like inside. Okay, so as Jim was explaining to us, that if we see a photograph or a video where the grain does not match, the noise in the video does not match the object in with the video, then the object was put in. If we see something, if we see a video or a photograph that is clear, okay, we see something that's clear, something that's, you know, we see a photograph and the trees are kind of blurry, all right, and the clouds are kind of blurry, but the object is perfect, right? The spaceship, the object is perfect. Well, that's just that's a dead giveaway right there, dude. That's fake, all right? It doesn't match up. The object should be out of focus along with the trees and the clouds and everything else, okay? When you zoom in and if it, you know, doesn't go in and out of focus, if it's manual focus, look at the surroundings. If there's trees there, okay, like Jim was trying to tell you, you know, how come it's not going in and out of focus, you know? So there's things to look out for on computer-generated videos and photographs, and this is one of them, okay? And this guy right here, he's making money off of you hitting and liking his videos, and he's faking them. There's so many hoaxers out there, okay? It's giving you real ufologists such as myself and a lot of all these people that are actually going out there and sky watching and doing the research and taking the time and the patience, because you're not going to see a UFO every day, man. You're going to be out there for days, sometimes weeks and months, okay, before you finally see something. But here we have some Johnny-come-lately, okay, and all of a sudden his videos are going viral and he's faking his shit and he's getting all these UFOs all the time, okay? That's just not possible, dude. That is not possible. That is a red flag in itself, okay? He's not zooming in on the objects. He's not following the objects, you know? He's fooling you and I so he can get paid, okay? So it's time for people like that, you know, to stop, dude. Okay, there's nothing to gain from it, you know. You do all these cable shows, you do all these radio shows, but sooner or later, dude, sooner or later, it's gonna catch up with you. Okay, and now it's catching up with you. Okay, I have examined 7 of your films, buddy, 7 of them, and they all came up the same thing, man. Okay, you're not gonna see UFOs every day, dude. It doesn't work that way, yo. All right. So yeah, something's fishy, something's up with you. And this is it. I have exposed you. You're a fraud. And, you know, other people need to be aware of this. And this is how you understand how to figure out what real UFOs are, what real videos look like, and what don't. So, that's pretty much almost the show, and let's do one more commercial. And if you like what you've seen so far, you know, share the video. You know, share the petroglyphs. Send me your petroglyphs. Send me your videos. Send me your photographs. If I like them, I'll air them. I'll talk about it. You You know, like and share this video. Get the word out, man. Petroglyphs in the sky. You know, that's it. I don't make any money from you watching my video, dude. Okay? I'll get that out, you know, in the open right here. I'm not making any money from nobody. I'm not making any money from my books. The money is supposed to be going to the kids' foster care in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm not in it for money, dude. I'm not in it to fool you. I'm in it for you to look at the evidence. Examine the evidence. Examine the stuff that I have come up with, that I have discovered. Okay, I was the first one in 2005 to come up with all of this. Okay, nobody has ever connected the Phoenix Lights with the petroglyphs in the Valley of the Sun. No one has ever matched UFOs to the petroglyphs anywhere in the United States. I am the original. I am the first. And I am the real deal. I'm not out to fool you. I'm out to help you, man. I'm out to show you what's going on. I'm out to teach you, dude, because no one taught me. I learned from experience. 20 years, man. 20 years, and I'm still going, because you won't learn everything, dude. I'm still learning, you know, but I want to share my experiences with you. I want to share what I've discovered with you. And don't take my word for it. Go out there and investigate things for yourself. That's what a true investigator does. You have to be a believer and a skeptic at the same time. Okay? You have to look at both sides of the coin here. What's credible, what can be proven, and what cannot be proven. Okay? And when you look at the options here, and you can outweigh, you know, the proven from the non-proven, that is what's credible right there. That is what's credible. Okay? So if you can't get to the mountain on yourself, by yourself, you can't get to Phoenix, Arizona, and check out South Mountain for yourself, you know, I bring the mountain and the history to you through my book. And I don't get any money from it, people.
Have you picked up your Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, Volume 1? Learn about the lost history of Phoenix, Arizona. Learn about the petroglyphs carved on a sacred mountain, now known as South Mountain, that holds the pass to the Phoenix Lights and the UFOs over Phoenix. Pick up your copy today. Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, Volume 1. Find it on eBay, Barnes & Noble, and any source where books are available at.
So yeah, that's our show, and thanks for coming out, and make sure that you like and you share this video, and you follow me on Facebook, and you know, tell your friends, man, send me your stuff. I'd love to see it. Take care, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Until the next exciting episode, keep your eyes in the skies. You never know what you might see.